You need to understand your product. You need to understand your customer. You need to work with your product team and with the customer feedback very closely. And then when you kind of tailor that all together into the successful UA campaign where it will target the right user at the right time. Of course, those are all loud words, but still, this is where kind of magic happens.
Welcome to Mobile Growth and Pancakes, a podcast by StoreMaven. We break down how and why mobile apps grow. In each episode, we invite a mobile growth expert onto the show to break down a specific mobile growth strategy, how it worked, why it worked, and what they would do differently. I'm your host, Esther Shatz.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mobile Growth and Pancakes. I'm your host, Jonathan Fishman. I'm a VP Marketing here at StoreMaven, and I'm really excited to have today with me Alexey Gusev. He's Lead Performance Marketing at Goodgame Studios. Hey, Alexey.
Hey, Jonathan. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. It's a pleasure. So do you want to introduce yourself for a bit?
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm Alexey Gusev. As you have announced, Lead Performance Marketing at GGS. I come from Russia. You kind of might hear that from my accent as well, or hope not, I don't know. So yeah, a little bit about myself. I kind of started dabbling in online marketing back in Russia when there was not much of a mobile marketing at the time, but I kind of was already interested, and it was more e-com focused and like search engine optimization and so on and so forth. After that, me and my wife, we have moved to Germany for studies and for master studies. And then I have joined Otto as an online marketing manager, also working there, partially like managing the agencies, working for the online marketing user acquisition and working on the product side as well. So web page optimization and the rest. Then I have joined Games, so the mobile gaming company, and worked at Ad Networks department, which was taking care of video, DSP network, whatever you might call them, as well as the native networks, so Tabulas, Outbrains of this world. Then worked on paid social for quite some time, and in the beginning of the last year, I joined GGS to work on their portfolio of the games as well.
Awesome. Can you tell us a bit more about Goodgame? What type of games are you guys developing and marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually quite interesting to describe what I'm doing at the moment at Goodgame. First of all, the Goodgame itself is the publisher and developer of mobile and browser games itself. So it might be familiar by such titles as Big Farm Mobile Harvest, Imperia 4 Kingdoms, and many others. Simultaneously, we are also part of the Steelfront group. So me and my team are taking care of the marketing for games, not only for the internal studio, but acting some kind of like a marketing agency for the games from the Steelfront group. Working with a rather wide portfolio of the games from casual, mid-core to hardcore strategies.
Awesome. So there's no hyper-casual titles.
There is no hyper-casual in the mix at the moment.
Awesome. Cool. So today we want to do a quick state of user acquisition in early 2022. It's been, I would say, 9 months since Apple has started to enforce the deprecation of the IDFA and the ATT framework and kind of broke attribution, at least in the traditional way that attribution is done. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how things are at the moment. So first topic I want to tackle is, and it relates to you guys because the type of games that you're marketing have long-term monetization kind of dynamics, like folks are monetizing over time through in-app purchases, I assume. So I guess before that, the way that you ran user acquisition is that you fed all different monetization events to networks such as Facebook and others to build lookalike audiences that were extremely high quality, and that's how you found your audiences. how user acquisition is working right now for such games with these long-term monetization profiles where you're after these quality users and not just more eyeballs like a hyper casual game, for example.
Yeah, got it. Still have it marked in my calendar, 26th of April 2021. Like, I will never forget the date.
I will tattoo it on my hand next to this. You can't see my real tattoo, but I showed my tattoo here.
Definitely. Yeah. So as you have already noted, like previously, how it was done, that we have had very sophisticated algorithms of Facebook, Snapchat, paid social, DSP networks, back with the purchases, back with the values, and that have helped to optimize towards the valuable users that we are looking for. Since the ATT rollout, unfortunately, we don't have the transparency of the data anymore, or we don't have the transparency of the data to the same extent or on the same level. Yeah, of course, there is a certain percentage of the IDFA users that still opt in, and we still get them, especially when you're running them on the higher levels. But for us, pretty much early on, that was the decision to double down on the scan and to try to understand it, to be a bit earlier on the market, to try to run proper campaigns that are scan focused. And it's at the time, or at the moment, it kind of run with its ups and downs, I would say. First of all, because of the fact that the industry was even at the time, given the fact that by the end of April, that was quite some time since Apple has been talking about that, without many details though, but the industry definitely wasn't ready. Facebook algorithms were not prepared to take such a hit in terms of losing data. All the other paid social networks took bigger or lesser hit as well. For the ad networks, that was lesser an extent because the probabilistic widget still existing. Given the fact that our games are monetizing usually closer to the day 7, or at least some of the games in our portfolio, we wanted to understand what kind of channels, even if not optimizing towards them, because at the moment, for example, Facebook optimizes only towards the 24 hours of data on scan. So even if you have the conversion values up to, or conversion schema up to the 7th day, it doesn't really take in this information whatsoever for the optimization, that is.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about folks that are saying that you can find like a really early on event that is like a proxy for D7 revenues or like LTV basically? Did you have any success with finding like these kind of events early on in the first 24 hours?
Yeah, even before the ATT, we were running rather extensive experiments in terms of finding the proxy events. Unfortunately, what all those events or all those tests have found that the best proxy for the purchase is unfortunately purchase. And we have tried, certain levels post which majority of the users kind of do convert towards payers. At least there is correlation between, or high level of correlation between those events. We tried app shop opens. But for example, on the app shop open, algorithms are very smart. If you feed the data on the app shop open, this is exactly what you're going to get. So we were like, after some time, given the fact that it was not a standardized event on Facebook, in the beginning, we have seen a good positive effect of that. But after some time, when the algorithm had learned, we have started to observe that their rec to pay, so registration to being converted to pay, a ratio has dropped quite substantially because algorithm was bringing exactly the users that were opening the shop and never coming back to that or never converting.
Yeah, that's what you asked for. I can imagine Facebook. Yeah,
exactly. That's you fit in the data for that, you get what you want.
Yeah.
But I kind of keep on hearing of some successful cases, at least from the account managers themselves, and they're kind of motivating us to test that. But at the moment, we were not able to find the successful event that is better in term, or at least on a rather similar level in determining the purchase intent of the user better than the purchase itself.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. Like if if you think about it, because everybody is saying the same thing. Like the account managers on the ad network side, Facebook and whatever, are saying, yeah, there are some folks that are really successful with it. Like go do this as well. But they're just saying it again and again, and I never heard anyone being successful with it, at least at scale. Like I heard about some experiments that worked at like a really low scale, but it's clear why they're saying that.
Nobody ever seen those folks.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. So coming back to the scan topic, originally, so we have experimented quite heavily on what works, what not, and I'd say at the moment we have rather fleshed out approach to that, and there is also quite a lot of infrastructure around that. First of all, in terms of the scan itself, I'd say 63 conversion values doesn't sound like much, but you can actually do quite a lot of, or surprisingly quite a lot of with that. As in one of the smaller hacks that we've done with one of the strategy genres, like, first of all, you're interested to get or to retain as many users as possible and lead them towards the 7th day, because majority of the high value purchases for us for this game were happening towards the 7th day. That's why we have introduced a certain heartbeat event that is fired rather regularly and is being updated like 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, 14, and so on. And that kind of keeps the ticker or the timer going and updated every time that the user basically plays or does something in the game. On top of that, we have subdivided the revenue buckets, or figured out a certain revenue buckets, just not even to understand or not to be able to optimize towards the value successfully, more so to understand whether we got the high-paying user or low-paying user or mid-tier user, and because usually that's the best indication of whether the partner or the channel is profitable for us or not. And with that, we are able to measure proper retention, because the heartbeat is indicative of how user is logging in or logging out of the game. B, we're able to generate like decent volume of the purchase information. And C, we didn't lose the revenue event information. There is obviously a downside to that, unfortunately. In terms of the technical integration, scan was rather pain in the ass, if you don't mind me saying that, for our developers, because it is not as straightforward to understand that, the whole logic of that, how it works. So that's why we kind of had to work very closely with them on the product and on those values, and benchmark them again and again to make sure that it actually is working. To be completely transparent, that wasn't a process of even 1-2 weeks. It's closer to 1 month, 1.5 months to completely flesh out what we have for every game.
Got it. And getting that level of data back, what's the success you've been seeing with Facebook and these type of, like, the self-attributing networks after you implemented that? Is it?
Yeah. So there are, again, the answer to that is not that simple. What we have observed that not only something is happening on the scan side, something is happening on the partner side. On the example, let's say you take TikTok, Facebook as one of the bigger paid social networks there. So TikTok for us was definitely one of the best performing early channels. So I think app event optimization on scan, that was the best partner that was scalable, and it kind of has lost it very long. At the moment, we're seeing that the Facebook and the first change was somewhere in the end of September. The second change was definitely at the end of November. And we have observed it also by the spikes in the privacy threshold, in the volume of installs that have passed the privacy threshold on the scan side. There you can see that something is going on, that the partner is kind of readjusting the campaign. And I guess to no one is going to be the secret that for Facebook, they're trying to they are kind of stacking together several scan campaigns, scan IDs, and kind of that's why you can get a bit more information out of those campaigns, and that's why you get the asset information and so on and so forth. So what we have observed that since the end of November, beginning of December, performance for Facebook definitely have improved quite drastically. So at the moment, we're still experimenting heavily which partner does what in terms of the SRNs, but there is a great development of that. And at the moment, the performance that we're observing there is better than even the probabilistic that has been rather smooth and stable previously.
Oh, that's impressive. Amazing. And at that time, like when you identified that Facebook performance have dropped like several months back, what was your strategy around expanding beyond these channels?
Yeah, at this point of time, and there are, let's approach this in the following way. There were games that have had an established portfolio of the partners. I would say that they were affected to some extent, to a lesser extent. As in, yes, we had to phase out or decrease the ad spend on SRNs rather substantially. But simultaneously, we had partners that were able to run probabilistic with a fleshed out, polished portfolio of publishers with a good performance history data. So those were relatively fine in terms of the ROI performance. For the newer games, that was a bit more complicated, unfortunately, and it was definitely a trial and error process, and we had to go rather wide in terms of the partner launches to like a bit more than, not a bit more, but more than what we are used to. I don't know, for the regular game launch, depending on how you structure, you start with Facebook, add Google, add ad network, and then you kind of add all the other paid social networks or all the other ad networks and whatever other channels there is. But basically, you're covering the core ones. At the moment, what we are observing that even between the probabilistic SDK networks, there are a huge difference in terms of the performance for every new launched game, and it takes, like, the competition is definitely higher. It takes a bit longer to get to the performance that you're seeing. I think this is going to be more or less the silver line of all the talks. Like, online marketing unfortunately, despite all automatization, all the algorithms and everything, online marketing is not becoming easier. It's becoming more competitive. Yeah, there are good approaches. Yes, there is definitely revenue. Yes, there is definitely users on there. But to get to that golden nugget, to that pocket of performance, it's not, unfortunately, as straightforward as it used to be. And you need to keep on testing, maybe dedicating a bit longer time to the partner in order to make sure that you don't leave any stone unturned. Make sure that you also question the best practices sometimes, because this is where it could be line for you.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I see it is that basically Facebook, and I mean, we all know that they at least intend to somehow solve the targeting problem that they have currently, because they lost like the most valuable user level data that any ad network ever had. But we know that they intend to solve it over, and it's going to be a long process. I think in their last earning call, they said it's going to take about 2 years. That's what they estimate in order to solve, to get back good targeting capabilities. But thinking about all the probabilistic networks, a lot of the work that's being done there by UA teams and marketing teams around the world is really, I call it sub-publisher optimization, in the sense of identify where their high-quality audience is, like which actual genres and type of other games they come from, and then doing the work that before ad networks did, because they had all this user level data, so they could find users wherever they are and give you like a stream of high quality users. But now you have to actually tell ad networks where are the high quality users for you. And so far, when probabilistic attribution is still happening, and we all know that it's not a viable long-term solution, because Apple has wrote it very clearly, black over white, that it's that they ban it. Now, all eyes are now on when are they going to start to enforce it, but probabilistic attribution isn't a viable solution for all of these networks long term. So when they would basically fly blind, UA teams would have to tell them where do they want to advertise, where do they want to get users from. And I see, across the industry, some teams doing this type of work of actually drilling down to understand where their top audiences are coming from, and the results are pretty good. Like, they are able to identify, as you call it, these pockets of gold, basically, of where their high quality users are usually coming from, and direct their UA spend towards these genres. So that's something pretty interesting there. So basically these days, what are you guys measuring your campaigns based on? I mean, is it solely SK ad network, conversion values and verified installs? Is it something else? Do you rely on MMP data?
Yeah, it's a mix of things, to be honest. Basically, what we were doing until rather recently is looking, first of all, on the all-in performance. So the eROI for all of the marketing channels taken together with the organic, because that's the only, let's say, true data that we had at the moment. And we knew that if we are able to hit certain performance on day 7, day 30, then we're pretty much safe and our campaigns are profitable, which was rather fine. But then when we were going to the which partner, how to optimize all those details, it was a bit more complicated. So at the moment we were going majorly by the scan network data, and we built a special dashboard for that also was able to extrapolate like from the day 1 to day 7 for some of the games with the high volumes of data. At the moment though, there are rather interesting solutions that, for example, AppsFlyer is offering. Like, they have released the single source. I'm not sure if they have already made it open public. Anyhow, there is the single source of truth solution. Not sure if you heard about it or not, but it's essentially the duplication between the IDFA and the scan network users that is available at the moment on the 24 hours, like within the context of the conversion studio that they have in that is up to 72 hours, as far as I know. And that was definitely a handy way how to tackle the issues that we had of both combining the IDFA and non-IDFA opted-in traffic. So whatever we are receiving from the scan, whatever we are receiving for the SRNs from the opted-in users, also comparing those channels to the probabilistic. That was a definitely nice development in terms of what we have observed. And yeah, so at the moment, cut long story short, at the moment we're observing the still overall eROI, because that's our own data and this is what ultimately we're sticking to. But when we are making the partner decisions, partner budget allocation decisions, we are looking quite a lot on the MMP data from the SSOT, and we're also trying to combine that with the learnings that we have internally for those products at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that it's like looking at basically that truth, as you call it, like the blended ROI of all marketing channels, all everything together, and understand if it's profitable or not. That's where you start. It's like a synonym for how marketing was done all the through decades. And given that we had such a deterministic way of attributing revenues to sources up until now, until April at least, the industry got used to that type of measurement. But there's nothing really wrong at looking at things holistically and getting signals and signs that at least drive you in the right direction, even if it's not like the most accurate 26.37% ROAS. that's totally okay. And I think more people are getting used to that as time goes by. So there's one last thing that I'm interested if what are your thoughts about it? Like this is custom product pages. So for those of you who don't know, Apple basically released custom product pages about towards the end of December. And custom product pages allow you to create up to 35 variants of your default product page with different screenshots, different creatives. And with that, they also updated App Store Connect data, which is a data source that people are starting to look at more and more. And they allow you now to filter the data that you see there, including sales data that is cohorted, by the way. So you can see cohorted sales data at a custom product page level. So what that means is that if you're in UA and you run a campaign and you send it to a specific custom product page that you know is getting traffic only from that campaign, there's no other way for users to get to this page besides tapping on the ad and getting with the link that you set up, you would see the revenues over time coming in from that campaign. And then basically you can calculate return on ad spend in an aggregated and privacy-first type of way. And of course, there's the value of basically matching the creatives on the product page to the creatives on the ad level and create these holistic experiences that can significantly increase conversion rates. What are your thoughts about this? Apple is bringing back some more tools to allow marketers to maybe, some people I talked with called it Apple is trying to become their own MMP. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of like with the scan release and with the CPP release, it kind of does feel that they are trying to go exactly the direction of becoming the MMP for all things Apple, and kind of let us trust their data completely or rely on that. However, I still think that given more instruments, given more opportunities for the marketers is definitely some steps in the right direction. And it gives us just a bit more opportunity, as you have mentioned, to optimize the funnel for every channel, for every user in a bit better way. As in, it is rather obvious that the users that we're getting from the paid social and the users that we are getting from the SDK networks, the users that we're getting from the native, they're a different kinds of one. And if we're able to subdivide that and run every type of traffic through their own custom product page, also optimize the onboarding experience there is definitely beneficial. At the moment, we're making, given the fact that the release was not that long ago, we are making our first steps to that with some early successes, I would say. But still, it's a bit early to call it a groundbreaking success, or that this feature has changed the way that we are acquiring the users for the iOS at the moment. However, it definitely has all those qualities to improve the quality of life for us as the marketers, definitely, and kind of bringing the ASO part and the user acquisition part maybe even closer together than it was before.
Yeah, for sure. One of the most, and first of all, taking a step back here, I think that as with any Apple feature, it'll take time to really be adopted. And, we all now think about SK Ad Network as like, before it went out, people thought, oh yeah, there's SK Ad Network, it's going to solve everything. And we're almost a year after that. And it's still, a lot of people, as you said, it's like a nightmare to work with. Sometimes the data doesn't come back. There's partial data. The privacy threshold that keeps on changing. So I think as with any feature, they're releasing it and they're going to iterate on it, and eventually it's going to be, realize its potential and live up to the promise. But one of the most beautiful things that is happening with custom product pages is actually, as you said, really bringing in ASO and UA together even more. Because what I noticed that is happening is that in most companies is that the ASO team that is responsible for improving conversion rate on the product page side is holding a lot of data about how different audiences are responding to different messages. They've been doing that for years. They've been testing in various ways. They've been testing on the Google side with Google experiments. They've been testing with tools such as StoreMaven and learning about how different audiences respond to different messaging. So they have all this information. And on the UA side, like UA folks are starting to say, hey, the product page is a part of my campaign. Like, why shouldn't I mean, I'm running an ad creative about, I don't know, the theme is around, if I'm in a social casino and I'm marketing a slots game. So there's like big win type of messaging on an ad creative. So why shouldn't the product page speak about that? Or if I'm marketing with a specific IP, a specific character on the ad creative, why shouldn't I use that ad character in the product page? So they're requesting to use custom product page to improve the return on ad spend. And then it starts to, like in most companies, they just start to work together on these custom product pages instead of just having it in silos or as it was before. So that's something that I think is really beautiful that is happening as a result of this release. But as you said, there's still we still need to wait a bit until everybody adopts it. So far, there's I believe 3 ad networks that adopted it, and the most recent one was actually Apple Search Ads. So over the next few months, we'll see more and more of that adoption takes place. Cool. So we're about to run out of time. I do want to ask you a few questions that we ask all of our guests. So first one, if you could give just one tip to somebody that is aspiring to get into UA or progress in their UA career, thinking about everything that happened over the course of the last year or two, what would it be?
I don't know. I'd say that I will mention that there is no silver bullet or there is no single right way of doing things in marketing. And testing. Understanding your product is very important. So you need to understand your product. You need to understand your customer. You need to work with your product team and with the customer feedback very closely. And then when you kind of tailor that all together into the successful UA campaign where it will target the right user at the right time, of course, those are all loud words, but still, this is where kind of magic happens. This is where the spark happens. And then you will definitely see that on the results that you're getting from those campaigns.
Awesome.
So just don't rely on the ready-made solutions.
Love that. What's your favorite mobile growth resource? Like a lot of people give content recommendations here. Somebody that you follow, a blog that you read, stuff like that.
Like for the last half a year, I think 2 resources were kind of my main go-to ones in terms of getting the information. It's definitely MDM, so my Mobile Dev Memo. Big fan of Alexey Gusev and the Slack channel. You definitely can get a lot of very useful information from your peers there. And the second, I think Liftoff is doing a very good thing with the mobile heroes at the moment. Also Slack channel. Also quite a lot of interesting formats. Like I'm a big fan of their smaller lunches, for example, where you can just discuss whatever topics with the peers from the industry, like in a smaller circle of like 10, 15 people. Definitely had very interesting conversation in the last 6 months over there.
Awesome. And given that this podcast name is Mobile Growth and Pancakes, what's your favorite flavor of pancake?
That's a good question. 2 answers to that. If we're talking about the traditional American style pancakes, it's going to be banana chocolate chip and peanut paste.
Nice.
It's definitely ticks all the boxes for me. The other one, given the fact that I'm coming from Russia and there are Russian types of pancakes, blinis, sounds pretentious, but I love them with caviar. That's awesome.
I knew that you were going to say that because I had a friend with a Russian grandma that I used to visit as a kid, and she used to always feed us bellinis with fake caviar. It wasn't real caviar. It It was the fake kind, because she didn't have money. But yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Amazing. One of the most creative answers to this question in this podcast.
Thank you.
So finally, if folks want to reach out to you to chat about UA, games, marketing, anything, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn. Just type in my name and I'm going to be somewhere there.
Awesome.
And happy to have whatever chats possible. Yeah.
Cool. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you here today. And we'll chat soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jonathan, for having me. That was a pleasure.
And that was Mobile Growth and Pancakes. To find out more about StoreMaven and how we can improve App Store performance, visit storemaven.com. And then make sure to search for Mobile Growth and Pancakes in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at StoreMaven, thanks for listening.